What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the island. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in today. If you're new to the channel and you love San Francisco 49ers football, honest discussion, and looking beyond the hot takes, you've definitely come to the right place. Before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any new content. Now, today I want to do something a bit different, especially since we're about to start getting into some real football. Rookies are reporting today. Every single offseason, we hear the same conversations with this 49ers football team. Is Brock Purdy elite? Is the defense going to be able to bounce back? What's the injury situation going to look like? Can this offense be explosive? And I think the problem is a lot of people have opinions, but those opinions aren't really backed up by what actually happened last season. So today, I want to talk about what I believe are a few areas where this football team is very underrated, and then a few areas where I feel like, even myself, we can overrate this football team. Before anyone jumps into the comments, understand this. I'm not trying to be negative. I actually think that this football team has a legitimate chance at competing for a Super Bowl. But sometimes we do ourselves a disservice when we do not evaluate this roster honestly. Let's get it. Welcome to the Camman's Island podcast, where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, David Camman. Let's go ahead and start with what I believe is the most underrated aspect of this football team. And I feel like it's the quarterback room. Now, before you click off because you're tired of hearing Brock Purdy debates, listen, I'm tired of hearing Brock Purdy debates myself, but hear me out. I'm actually talking about this entire quarterback room because I honestly believe this is the best quarterback room, hands down, in the NFL. You will be very hard-pressed to think of another quarterback room that is better than the situation the 49ers have. The one that comes to mind maybe, and it doesn't even count anymore, would be the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love and Malik Willis, but Malik don't play there anymore, so that really doesn't count. When you scour the NFL and you think about complete quarterback rooms, I think it's San Francisco, and it's not close. Every single year, there's another reason why the quarterback's success is not the quarterback, right? Every single year, you take a look at Brock Purdy. It's the offensive is good because of just Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. It's Kyle Shanahan. It's the system. And then somehow Brock goes out here and plays well, and he doesn't get any of the credit. It's absolutely has nothing to do with his skill set or ability. It's everything else. What I think is interesting, though, is what Pro Football Focus does. For the 2025 season, they graded Brock Purdy one of the highest-rated quarterbacks in football. He finished with an elite overall grade, and when he was healthy, he was ranked 6th in passer grade among all quarterbacks. I think what's most impressive is his quarterback rating when he gets the ball out in under 2.5 seconds. His passer rating is 118.6. Among the very best in the NFL. That is, when you think about it, insane. 118.6. That's not a quarterback going out there and simply surviving. That is a quarterback carving up defenses. Now, I know some people will say, David, that's Kyle Shanahan. And what I would say is, really? Then explain to me why quarterbacks that Kyle has had in San Francisco specifically hasn't played to this level, hasn't processed the field like Brock Purdy hasn't made off-script plays, hasn't been able to consistently be able to make these downfield throws. You know, we've seen Brian Hoyer, C.J. Beathard, Nick Mullins, Trey Lance, even Jimmy Garoppolo, man, at times. And I agree that Kyle Shanahan's system puts quarterbacks in the best situations for sure. But Jimmy didn't look anything like Brock Purdy. None of them, again, consistently extended plays and delivered the football the way Brock Purdy does. Does Kyle Shanahan help? Duh. Kyle Shanahan's one of the greatest offensive minds in football. A lot of other coaches try to mimic what this man does, and that's not by accident. Here's another statistic that really stuck out to me for PFF. This is an elite quarterback trait that Brock gets no credit for. Brock Purdy had the best pressure to sack rate in the entire NFL at 9.0%. Think about that for a second, what that means. When defenders got pressure, Brock was better than anyone else at football, avoiding the negative play. Whether a free rusher's coming in and he completely avoided getting a sack or spun away, made an off-script play. That's an elite quarterback skill. Those are hidden plays. Those are things that's not going to show up on fantasy football or Sports Center top 10s. But seriously, how many times did we watch a free rusher come in, Brock Purdy step up, slide left or right, or even spin away from a free rusher and complete a pass for 15 yards down the field? Those aren't lucky plays. Those are quarterback plays. And I think sometimes we actually punish Brock for making difficult plays look routine. Now, if you look at the respect factor just from what Brock Purdy has done, he's not getting any love. Recently, the ESP, the coaches ranking and the scouts didn't even rank the man in the top 10, despite PFF having all of these grades. This recent ESPN poll, I believe, had the man ranked 16th. Brock Purdy, only the 16th ranked quarterback. Look, I get Brock was the last pick in the draft, Mr. Relevant. I understand he doesn't have the greatest arm. He's not the biggest guy. But come on, I think he deserves a little bit more love than 16. One NFL executive even admitted this. Brock possesses elite traits in his ability to layer throws and his short area quickness, but somehow that wasn't even able to put the man at least 10. I think that's crazy. And if you admit a quarterback has elite traits, if PFF, if Pro Football Focus consistently grades this man amongst the NFL's best quarterbacks, if his efficiency numbers continue to rank near the top of the league, it's kind of crazy. I honestly think Brock Purdy is still one of the most underrated quarterbacks in football. But again, it's the whole quarterback room. Let's think about Mac Jones. I know some folks probably rolled their eyes, but hear me out. Mac Jones wasn't brought into San Francisco to be the franchise quarterback. He was brought in here because he fits exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants from a backup. People forget that this guy's a former first-round pick. This guy has started playoff games. He's experienced. He made the Pro Bowl as a rookie. Has his career gone exactly how people expected it? No. But man, as a backup quarterback, you think about what he's able to bring to the table. If your starter goes down 2 or 3 games, you don't really want to be in a situation where you have to reinvent your offense. That's quite difficult. And what Mac does, if Mac has to play a few games, he proved it last season. You can come in here, use the same verbiage, the same offense, the same drop back methods. This offense can continue to flow and run seamlessly in Kyle's system. And I think that is something that's really undervalued here. If Brock were to go down, Matt can step in and win some big games. When you, again, compare that to most quarterback rooms in the NFL, you just don't have that ability. And I think that's really what's missing when you think about the quarterback rooms around the NFL. So I actually feel like the 49ers quarterback room as a whole is very undervalued, especially when you consider how it appears the league undervalues Brock Purdy. Mac Jones, as good as he played, it's going to be Kyle, it's going to be the system. But guys, Mac Jones is a very solid quarterback. I think he could do some very good things. In fact, if I could be transparent with you for a second, I'm not sure why the Pittsburgh Steelers did not pick up the phone and go ahead and pick this guy up for this season. Because if anything happens to Aaron Rodgers, you can stick a fork in that team, they're done. And if we could be honest, Aaron Rodgers is, I think, beyond the back nine of his football career. The most underrated aspect of the team is the quarterback room. Second area the 49ers are underrated. And it's sad because this was the best part of the football team last year, and that is the special teams. I would argue that special teams was by far the most consistent area of this football team last season. And when you think about the 49ers, the conversation is always centered around Brock Purdy. Last year, it was definitely centered around the fact that the football team could not get pressure. We had a very bad defense last year. That was what people would say very much covered up by the offense. And I agree, the 49ers were an offensive football team. No doubt. But the reason we won so many football games, the reason we won so many one-score games was the special teams unit. It was the best in football. And it really took off when we got rid of, don't even want to say his name, but Jake Moody. It's about my man, Eddie Pinheiro, okay? The 49ers desperately needed consistency at kicker, and they got it. Pinheiro connected on 31 out of 32 field goal attempts. That is a 96.9%. One of the best percentages in the NFL. And think about that. Every time the offense crossed midfield, you could start play calling to where you knew if Eddie got a chance to go out there, that was money. That was 3 points. You don't have to force the ball into the end zone every single possession. 3 points becomes automatic. Think about how many NFL games come down to a one-possession game. Every single year we see teams lose because they've missed a field goal. The 49ers were not that team. Instead, they had confidence that any time Pinheiro stepped onto the football field, that's 3 points. That is a serious weapon. In fact, with the new punter that was brought in, I really feel as though the special teams can even be better from last year. The fact that we gave Eddie Pinheiro the contract we did shows you we're not messing around. The 49ers front office understands that man helped us win football games. It's about pinning teams deep. It's about making teams drive 80 yards down the field instead of 60. And these aren't flashy plays. Eddie Pinheiro is not going to be on SportsCenter unless he makes a game-winning field goal in overtime, more than likely. It's not going to show the 4 field goals of 45-plus yards that he made right down the center every single time. But these are plays, man, that wins football games. Championships are often won because one phase of the game quietly wins. You think about what happened in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, man, and that muff punt. That turned the whole game around. Don't get me wrong, I know Dre going down was extremely impactful. But if you don't have that muffed punt, 49ers, we were dominating that game. 49ers probably win the Super Bowl going away. So here's my question. Are we sleeping on the special teams? Is it always Brock Purdy in the offense? Is it always the injury situation when I feel like the most consistent, probably the best aspect of this football team is staring us right in the face and doesn't get any type of love whatsoever? Let's get into overrated. Now, before everyone gets upset, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that this area of the team is bad, but I think the overrated area of the football team right now is the offensive line. I've seen statistics out there. I've seen talk. I've seen numbers ranking the San Francisco offensive line as high as number 5 in the league. Hear me out. I'm not saying that this line is dog water. That's not what I'm saying, but I think the offensive line is puffed up by a few names and what Brock Purdy is doing back there to elude pressure. I really do. Look, Trent Williams is Trent Williams. Definitely. Still absolutely one of the best left tackles in the game. I'm not going to sit up here and dispute that. But you can tell that Trent's taking a slight step back. Again, a slight step for Trent is still great and phenomenal. But I think that name alone, Trent Williams on that line, puffs up the offensive line right off the bat. Colton McKivitz, man, I don't feel like I almost put Colton McKivitz in name as being one of the most underrated aspects of the football team. Colton has really come into his own. Do I think Colton is an elite right tackle? No, I'm not sitting up there saying it, but man, he sure has developed and come into his own. He is handling his business over there. Dominique Pooney. I like Pooney. I do. But I think we may have crowned him a bit too soon after his rookie campaign. Last year, Pooney was hurt early on, had the PCL. He allowed a lot of pressure up the middle. He did. He very much struggled at times. And when it came down to it, he ended up being middle of the pack rating as far as guards go. If he's healthy, do I think he can improve? Absolutely. But the kid was not a Pro Bowler last year. And at times, he struggled. There was a few games I felt, watching back on the tape, I felt like he was the weakest link on that line a few times last year. Now, you look at Brendel at center. I know he's the mastermind. I know his IQ is supposedly what Kyle feels is the mechanism that keeps the engine moving. And look, I'm not going to sit up here and question Kyle. If Kyle feels that he needs a big IQ at center, and he is the mastermind, he's the offensive genius. If that really is the cog in the engine that keeps this thing moving, hey, don't change it. I get it. But Brendel's getting old, and let's just keep it a buck. He is not the best center in football. Not even close. You look at left guard, man, that thing was a turnstile last year. It was, don't get me wrong, whoever stepped into that spot did okay. But fifth best line in football? I just told you the 9.0 pressure sack stat a second ago, where Brock is taking advantage of plays that should be a sack or a negative play and getting the ball out. That has definitely helped puff up this offensive line a bit. They've played a lot together. They're a solid unit, but top five, I'm sorry. I feel like that's just, I don't see it. Again, I'm not an X's and O's savant either, but fifth best line in the league, to me, that just does not pass. That just doesn't pass the eye test to me whatsoever. Now, let's talk about the next area of the 49ers I feel is overrated. And please, faithful, don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. But I think it's the linebacker room. Now, hold on. Please don't unsubscribe off of that comment. Just give me an opportunity to explain what I mean. Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football. Full stop. That hasn't changed. He was just ranked that by everybody, right? Definitely. I think he would have been a force multiplier, even if we would have been able to beat Seattle and he came back against the Rams for the NFC Championship game. I'm sure he would have made a big play, a Sports Center top 10 moment. I'm not saying Fred isn't the man. I'm talking about the entire linebacker room. I know that Dre Greenlaw is coming back. I'm super excited about it, just as much as everybody else. But let's call it what it is. There's a reason that Dre was essentially let go from Denver after 1 year. It was a disappointing season for him. And I understand the injury he had is very serious. And it's one that's not easy to come back from. Which is case in point why I think that we just, especially in the beginning of the season, need to temper our expectations. I don't believe in Australia game 1, you're going to get that thunder and lightning combo from Fred and Dre game 1. Could you get there over time? Absolutely. But we have to understand a few things about the 49ers. We have Raheem Morris as a defensive coordinator. Not sitting up here saying he's going to completely reinvent the wheel of this defense, so to speak, but there are going to be some new wrinkles, some new things to learn, some new things to actually put in practice in a real game. Let's be honest. I don't even know why we have preseason games other than to give young kids an opportunity to make the roster. Nobody shows anything in preseason anymore. Nobody even plays their starters. It's going to take some time to develop that old school Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner chemistry. I'm just saying folks are sitting up here acting like, man, the 2023 linebacker group is walking through that door game 1. And I just feel like if we as 49er fans, I have been guilty of this. I remember, man, when the news broke that we signed Dre again, I was like, man, you can't tell me nothing. I had flashbacks of all the good memories of those two guys playing side by side, which there were times, if we could just be honest, I know it's hard for us to sit up here and admit that Fred Warner can be human, but there was times, man, where Dre appeared to be the best linebacker on the field, even with Fred being out there. Go back, take a look at it. It's simply the truth. So what I would say was, Faithful, if you're sitting up here and you're expecting game one for it to look like that, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. Hear me. Do I want that to happen? Do I want that thunder and lightning combo back? Do I want to see the closing speed over the middle? Do I want to see tight ends being covered up so much that they're having to do a check down to a running back every single play? Do I want to see teams absolutely refuse to even think about a screen because of those two linebackers? Absolutely. Day one, play one. I want that for the San Francisco 49ers. I just believe if we could look at this thing objectively, take a step back, Fred missed a lot of time. Dre missed a lot of time. I would actually go so far as to say Dre Greenlaw hasn't looked Dre Greenlaw since before halftime of the Super Bowl, right? That we lost to the Chiefs. So again, I just think right now when I've talked to other faithful, what I've heard out there on other channels is that I think we might have the linebacker group puffed up. Now, do they have the potential? Oh, absolutely. I think Nick Martin's going to do some great things this year. And I don't think he's the only one that's going to do some great things this year. I think everybody's going to get their fair share and get a really good opportunity to show what they have. I am excited to see the wrinkles that Raheem Morris puts out here on the defense. I'm excited to see some more intentional blitz packages versus just expecting you to get home with the front four. So when I step back and look at this football team, here's where I land. I think the quarterback room is still being underrated, especially with my man Brock being ranked 16th in football. That's wild to me. With what Mac Jones actually did last year, where everybody could see it, sometimes on national TV, right? The quarterback room's definitely being underrated. I think special teams deserve way much more love. They're, in my opinion, the reason that we made the playoffs last year. I think the offensive line is good. Top 5? Nope. And I think the linebacker room has the potential to become elite again. But let's give some time before we label them the 2023 linebacker group. That's what makes football fun. We will see together, guys, when the season starts. We all watch the same games, but sometimes the numbers tell a different story than the narrative. Now I want to hear from you. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Do you feel that the linebacker group is not overrated? Do you feel like the quarterback room is right where they should be? Do you actually think that the 49ers have a top 5 offensive line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I want to read them. I really enjoy hearing from you guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, again, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Take care, be blessed, and go Niners.